here's the thing. Poor Mason. Every time he comes here, something goes horribly wrong with very minimal exceptions. And now it's that the people's choice is going to be Will Howard. If it were to come down to those two, he is now going to experience the phenomenon that's true across football. The backup quarterback's the most popular guy in town, right?
Yeah, the funny thing about Mason is he's been on both sides of it. I remember him saying that at the tail end of that 2023 season when he took over for Kenny. And I remember him. And I guess first he took over for Mitch Trubisky, really. And people were chanting for Mason to replace him. So I do remember him talking in a scrum in the locker room one of those days about how he's been on the other side of that. People wanted Duck Hodges to replace him, and that's just the nature of the business. But it is fascinating in some respects that Mason's back here. And to your point, Joe, I think we probably will talk to him after practice. I imagine he'll draw some reporter attention. That's another offshoot of this whole Aaron Rodgers thing to me, though, too, is it kind of starts becoming a true distraction today because people like me and people like Ray, we're going to be asking players and our colleagues about Aaron Rodgers as well. So now it's seeping into their actual football activities.
Tell us what you've seen, the little you've seen of Will Howard, and how big of a story he is going into these OTAs.
Well, I think he's a big story more because of his profile going into the draft, winning the national championship at Ohio State. He did a good job, I think, for himself and his team around him by getting his face out there a lot. The Hey Rookie Show, the John Gruden quarterback camp. So he's had a lot of opportunities for his personality to pick up some steam, and he is a very likable guy. So I think there's a real air about him that way. And I do think the Steelers like him, Joe, in the sense of, if nothing else, he'll be a very reliable backup quarterback. For 4 years for them on a rookie deal, maybe longer, and maybe 10 years in the NFL because of he's been through a lot of ups and downs. He's got a certain floor athletically. And, if he reaches his ceiling, then maybe we are talking about a 6th-round pick success story.
Do you personally expect Aaron Rodgers today?
No.
Do you expect T.J. Watt today?
I mean, again, I don't know if I'm allowed to answer these questions since I'm here. I feel like it could be. I mean,
I'm just asking you for your personal opinion. Do you expect to see T.J. Watt today?
All right, let's pretend it's 9:50 and I'm driving down here and this is, interviews taking place at a different time. Probably not. I don't think he was here at the beginning of OTAs last year.
Okay, that's fair. And I don't want to get you in trouble, but I'm just asking, that's more from a reporting standpoint, like outside of you being there, would you expect him to be there?
Yes.
And if he's not, is that big deal, small deal, no deal? For both those guys, for Rodgers and Watt, is it a big deal, a small deal, or no deal at all? Should they not be there?
I would say small deal for someone like TJ. I would say bigger deal for somebody like a quarterback who you always want them to be there to develop that rapport with teammates who are going to be trying to operate with them on looks sometimes, hand signals sometimes. Plus, when it's somebody completely new coming in from the outside, I think it's even more significant to have as many practices under your belt as you possibly can. For TJ, he's been around a lot. I mean, he's been here, done that. He has the respect of this team. They all know him. They all like him and admire him. So, I think it's one thing if he's not here. I think it is more of a distraction or more of a storyline, to put it that way, if your potential quarterback, starting quarterback is not here.
Limits, I wouldn't even dream of leaving you out of this conversation.
I appreciate it, Joe. All right, Brian, the most pressing thing at OTAs for you is what? Now, I know obviously there's some things that you can't talk about, but what are you most keeping an eye on in the early portion of now the start of the season?
Oh, it's hard to say at OTAs because, it is football in shorts. For example, Limits, I think the offensive line play and specifically the development of the tackles, Broderick Jones and Troy Faltanu, is going to go a long way towards shaping what the Steelers can do this season on that side of the ball. But how much are you really going to learn about that in the spring? I would say not a lot. And even in training camp, when they're practicing against one another, ratchets up a little bit. But, so much of that not really going to be determined until you see it in the preseason against different colored jerseys. We know Troy Fautanu struggled out of the gate with that a little bit last year as a rookie. So, that's one way to answer it. But, I think the receiver group, too, kind of looms over this, especially with George Pickens gone. And not a whole lot of guys so far have, had opportunities to be that number 2. And you've got players like Robert Woods, Roman Wilson, and Calvin Austin vying for those snaps.